So today I'm going to go ahead and show everybody how to hardwire your U1000 Dashcam to your vehicle. Pretty much what we're going to be using today is the hardwiring kit that came with the camera. It's got our battery cable and our accessory cable along with our ground. And what we had to buy additional to this was this little guy, which is called an add-a-fuse connector. You're going to need two of them. This is the micro fuse style. So it's pretty much what we're going to need. And that's it when it comes to wiring. You're also probably going to want some strippers handy, because you're going to need to extend those wires just a little bit in order to fuse them up with this guy. Because what you do is you hook it up just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll march out to the car and put her all in. Alright guys, so here we are out inside my 2018 Honda Accord, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how we're going to go about hardwiring this into the vehicle. The first thing you want to do, I've already half done this just for demonstration purposes, but you're going to want to take this kick panel off underneath your steering wheel. All it does is it just pulls right off, no problems at all. Just be very careful because there's a plug right behind this section right here. So what I did was I went ahead and pulled from this right hand side. You'll hear it pop. That means it came off on that side. Then you're going to probably hear some additional pops on the rest of the sides. But what I meant by watching the plug is there's a plug right there. That's going to plug right into your traction control and your Honda Sense. So you'll want to make sure that you kind of pull it off from the right hand side, grab that plug, and then you can pull the rest off from the left hand side. There's going to be a couple of additional clips back there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put this over to the passenger side while we dip underneath the dash. Take a look at our fuse panel. Alright, so you see some wires here already. Don't fear, those are from my current dash cam that we are going to be replacing today. But I wanted to show you guys where we're going to be hardwiring this stuff into. So on the Honda Accords, like mine, here is the fuse diagram. We are going to be tapping into the 4 fuse, which is your accessory. That is right here. That's this fuse right here. And basically what that's going to do is whenever the car turns on, that is your switched power fuse, I guess would be. Whenever you turn the car on, that gains power. So we need that for switched. And then we're also going to be wiring into our option, which is number 43. That is right up here, and that's going to be our constant. This wire is always live. Let me back out of here. I'm going to set up our out-of-circuit connectors, and we'll plug this puppy in. Alright, so I went ahead and untangled all this mess and unplugged it. It isn't as bad as I anticipated that it would be when I pulled it off, but I still am not very comfortable with that electric tape job. I mean, that's not very secure. But nonetheless, we're going to go ahead and take the out of circuits that we put on there, and we're going to put them inside the fuse box. So what I did, I'm going to explain what I did with these for those of you that don't know how to use an out of circuit connector. You're going to put the fuse that you pull out of the circuit, out of the fuse box that you're going to be using for the slot, you're going to put that on top, and then you're going to add a fuse on the bottom. I personally don't know how much is required for this setup, so I just went ahead and went with a 10 amp. I went with 10 amps for both of them because the fuse that we're tapping into is a 10 amp, and the cameras I don't think are going to draw any more than that anyway. So anyhow, this is our accessory, so we're going to slap that right up here in the number 4 position. If I can readjust our camera, there we go. Alright, so number 4 position, that's going to be right over 1, 2, 3, 4. Right up there next to that 7.5 amp. So I'm going to slide that right up in there. Alright, works perfectly. Fits in there like a charm. Then we're going to come down here, and this is our battery, which is going to be the constant. If you notice on the thing, it actually does say battery. Well, you can't really see it, but there we go, battery. Alright, that's going to be our constant. So we discussed that we're going to make that our 43 slot up there underneath that 20 amp. We're actually between both those 20 amps. So let's go ahead and slap that up in there. Alright, so now that's up there. That's nice and secured. Got both of those where they belong. Now we need to address the grounding situation. Maybe I should show everybody how to figure out what a secured ground is, and also how to determine which other fuses can be used. So what you're going to need is your test light. This can be got at AutoZone for maybe 13 bucks tops, and I think that even comes with a wire stripper as well. And what you're going to want to do is connect the alligator clips to the ground that you want, essentially, which you believe is going to be a good ground. And then you're going to go over to your fuse box, and you're going to find a fuse that, well, it'd be best if it's a constant, but if it's a switched fuse, you'll turn your car on to accessory and see where the power is there. This 15 I know is a hot fuse, so we're going to go ahead and tap it. And how we're going to find out if that's a good ground is this test light will light up. There we go. She lights up. Now, if you had a fuse, if you had what you call a switched, and you tap it, it isn't going to light up unless you have the car on. See, like this one, this is a switched fuse. It's not lighting up because the car's not on. So this one is a constant, and it lights up. So that's how you're going to find out. Let's say your number 4 and your 43 are both taken. That's how you'll find out which other fuses you can tap into. And now that we've figured out that we're going to be using this as our ground, I'll go ahead and hook up our ground, and we'll continue with our journey. Alright, so we got everything hooked up down here. Next, what I'm going to do is, well, what I actually kind of already did, was I started to run the wires. As you can tell, these are inline fuses for the hardwiring kit. I'm going to tuck them in back here, where they'll kind of sit there for right now. Before I put this panel on, I'll go ahead and fix those the correct way. But I went up in here. If you have a 2018 Accord, you can just pull this little side panel off just a little bit, and it's just a bunch of pop clips, and you can fish the wire up in there like what I did. And then I went up into the pillar. I highly recommend getting one of these. This is a trim panel tool. This is how I got this wire up into this pillar. I pretty much went up in here, pulled the sealer back, and just kind of pushed it all up in there. And I went behind the trim. So actually, let me go ahead and show you guys how that looks from up above. So up in here, see if we can get the camera to focus here. Okay, so you can see how the wire is kind of coming out. What I did was I just went ahead and pushed that wire in with the trim tool like this. See, it just kind of pops right in. No problems, just pops right in. And I'm going to continue doing this, but what I'm going to do is we're going to be putting the dash cam way over here. So I'm going to run this up. It's going to come out of this pillar, and then it's going to kind of go up into the headliner and just go right down there and drop down where this other wire is currently dropping down at. Make sure you do like a kind of pre-test fit to see exactly how far you need to run that cable. If you look over here, I'm all the way to the center of my windshield, and we actually have a bunch of slack. I've actually done away with most of that slack by just going ahead and placing it in here, which is also where I tucked all the rest of the wires into. But when we ran it, it was easy to go ahead and just kind of pull it right down from over here, and it just kind of slid all the way down the rest of the way. But I wanted to mention that before we got all this set up. Alright, so I pretty much had to finish up the entire job without being able to really videotape the rest of it. But I'm going to give you guys the rundown on it all. So, as I was saying before, I ran all my wires up through here, and they came out over there. They're both sitting right there behind my mirror, which I'm going to eventually adjust, and it should hide most of that stuff. But anyhow, I did mount it up there, and it covers a lot of the vehicle, I guess, from the front angle. But I do feel like it's a little bit big. but that's all right. Anyhow, we went ahead and ran the rear camera, which is this wire right here, through the headliner, down the side of the vehicle, all the way to the back, where you can kind of see it, but it is very low profile. A good thing to note is when you do want to aim this, you're gonna need to put a memory card in there first. That thing screamed at me for 10 minutes while I was looking for a memory card so I can access the app to see where I was aiming it. It screamed at me the entire time. And it would also restart and all those other good stuff. So always stick a memory card in there before you plug it in. That way it shuts up. But aside from that, everything went great as far as the install, what you guys saw and everything. The setup on the Thinkware app isn't too bad. I do have to take a look at the rest of the features. I would highly recommend turning the sound off, because this thing, it will tell you everything that it does. Like, let's say I want to start my car up. It will tell me that it's going to record.
During parking mode, motion detection recording. 3 and event detection recording. 1 occurred. Continuous recording will now start. On your smartphone, connect to a Wi-Fi network whose name starts with Thinkware. GPS connected.
So it will do that every time you start your car. And then when you turn off your car and you step out of the vehicle, it will tell you parking mode is starting. I know there's not a whole lot of people that sit in their car while it's parked, but if
Parking recording will now start.
If you are one of those people, that's what it'll do. It'll yell at you. So I would recommend just turning all the volume off, because, I mean, it's really just a silent witness anyway. There's no reason to need the volume unless you're using the forward collision warnings and lane departure warnings, which I'm not going to be using because my car has all that stuff already on it. So yeah, that pretty much concludes how to install the Thinkware U1000. I don't have means of going through the app with you guys and showing you guys everything else as far as that goes, but I'm pretty sure you guys found my video, so you can find somebody else's video that has that. Thanks for watching.